Hello, and thanks for checking out another video. Today, I will be sharing my thoughts on Book 3 of The Wheel of Time, which is The Dragon Reborn. So I just finished this book, and to start off, it was really good again. Working my way through the Wheel of Time series, starting with Eye of the World, and then The Great Hunt, and now we're on to Book 3, The Dragon Reborn. So everything that's been leading up so far, it just keeps expanding, and that was my quick takeaway from this, is that we're starting to get, I guess, to the middle of the saga. It was such a long series, The Wheel of Time. Everyone knows it's so long, and I'm just getting started. So this book was, again, like my thoughts on the second book, the world just keeps getting bigger. So in this book, it's less about Rand, which was an interesting choice. As the title says, it's The Dragon Reborn, so I think most people know about it, but briefly, at the end of the second book, Rand became the Dragon Reborn, and he kind of fully starts embracing that in this book. So this book is about Rand coming to terms with being the Dragon Reborn, even though I felt that was getting hinted at a bit in the second book, where he was kind of denying it, and now the third book, he really is it now, and it's coming to accept that. So his journey of accepting is largely by being a teenager, I guess is the best way to put it. And that was the interesting thing for me was, yes, this character is being moody and not really understanding what's happening to him, but I have to put that in the context that Rand is a teenager in this book. It's not like a classic fantasy novel where, or when I say classic fantasy novel, I'm immediately, of course, thinking of Lord of the Rings, where the characters are a bit older. Not the hobbits, of course, but Strider is older, more wise. Gandalf is obviously an old, wise wizard. But in The Wheel of Time, our main characters, the Ta'veren, they're all teenagers. So you have to give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt. And I really think that's what Robert Jordan is going for in his writing. And it really came through in this book, Book 3, The Dragon Reborn, that Rand is just a teenager that's really overwhelmed at this point. He literally has the weight of the world. He has this prophecy on his shoulders, and he's coming to terms with that. We see him in the beginning of the book really, isolating himself. I can kind of very much empathize with Rand, being that angsty teenager, kind of just wanting to be alone and leave me alone, Mom. And his mom, of course, in this one is the Aes Sedai, so he wants just to be by himself, and he's coming to terms with who he is. And he's dealing with these powers. And a lot of the book, after we catch up with what he's doing in the first half, he's just off screen on his own adventure. And that's the meat of the book, is everyone else now going after Rand this time. Instead of saving him, they're just trying to catch up with him and help their friend out. This is the Edmund's Field, the band, trying to get the band back together. But doing so, they do divide into different paths. There's multiple different stories. So while Rand is coming to grasp with being the Dragon Reborn and everyone looking up to him, getting his army together and coming into the destiny that everyone keeps putting on him, all the Aes Sedai. So, of course, the main focus and the coolest things that happened were with the other characters, because Rand already had his big moment at the end of the second book. And now we focus a bit more on the other two Ta'veren. Some of the Ta'veren. We've got, Egwene doing her thing with the Aes Sedai. She's doing that. And the other two boys, we have Mat and Perrin. So Mat finally resolves his arc with the dagger. So the Aes Sedai finally cure him of the shadowness. And I'll talk about that quickly here, because that was finally coming into his own as a character. I have a friend who keeps telling me that Mat's going to get cool, and I guess hear that in not Lord of the Rings, in the Wheel of Time fandom, that Mat becomes a great character. But for the first two books, he was just dealing with all the dark energy, dark magic that's weighing him down. So about halfway through book 3 now, he finally gets cured, and he starts developing powers and gets a bit interesting. And not really powers in the sense that he's manifesting lightning like Rand is, but he has luck on his side, which is an interesting way to contrast a bit with Rand. Like we see, for example, Rand going through the towns and all of a sudden causing weddings to happen when he passes through the town. The fact that he's Ta'veren and he's just influencing the wheel, influencing the pattern, that Mat's power or manifestation of being Ta'veren so far seems to be this luck and he figures out he keeps winning at dice. So he's able to escape from not escape, but venture out on his own from his recovery mandate. And he's able to get currency by gambling and always coming up heads. Everything works out in his favor. And he realizes, and uses that to his advantage, that he has this uncanny luck and he's not really sure what's happening to him. So that was really cool to finally start seeing Matt grow into his own as a character. I was kind of down on Matt in the first two books because he didn't really do anything. He's been afflicted by this dagger, and now they've, got the darkness out of him. Hopefully, there was that hint that there may be a little bit left, that we got to make sure we got all the darkness. But now he's coming to his own. And then in the other character, of course, being Perrin, who was my favorite from the second book after Rand, of course, Rand with his cool powers. But Perrin had another amazing scene in this novel, Dragon Reborn. If you've read it, you know it. It's the end where they start dreamwalking, and that is just so cool. So Matt is, earlier in the novel, has been dealing with his own manifestation of powers and how he's trying to basically fight off being the wolf or becoming too much a wolf. So that's his internal struggle through this book, is coming to terms with being the wolf friend. And he doesn't want to go all the way. And he feels it pulling him. And I could really feel that internal struggle that Perrin had in this book. And then at the end, oh my gosh, yes. So Perrin, he goes into the dream world, not the shadow realm, into the dream realm. And then he manifests as a wolf, and he's running as a wolf with Hopper, the other wolf, and they're hunting the Falcon, who's the other girl. And it was just so cool. I love that scene at the end in the dreams. So the ending of this book, super satisfying. And speaking of dreams, that transitions to the next point about Egwene. Egwene, yes, I have a lot of cliche, parts of the story where they're tugging on braids, that Nynaeve and Egwene keep, straightening their skirts and tugging on their braids. And this is a cliche with Robert Jordan, that's what all the female characters do. And it happened a lot in this book. And I kind of noticed it because it was maybe planted in my head that the female characters tug on their braids a lot and, smooth their skirts. So every time it came up, I noticed it, it was a lot. But transitioning to Egwene, and why I mentioned her is because she's in the dream world at the end. So there are a couple different scenes when Egwene starts coming into her dreamer powers. The most prominent for me that I thought was the coolest was when she has that possible dream of being the Green Aja and learning that the Green Aja were the Battle Aja. So, of course, so cool. Egwene's going to be the Fighter Aja, and I hope that pays off later on. She has the dream. There is that, possible future multiverse kind of aspect that when the dreams happen, that it's a possible future. But I think it's strongly hinted that Egwene is going to be a Green Aja in the future. She makes those references to other characters throughout the book. And then at the end, when she goes in the dream world and uses the dream powers to shake off the bonds or the, being cut off from the power, very cool scene at the end. So the end, also with Egwene, super satisfying. Love that scene. Love the ending. And then to tie it back to Rand, his ending, because I just finished the ending, his final fight was really cool as well. Rand, who we hadn't seen through most of the novel, he finally makes it to the stone, and he has the battle with Balsamont again. So if I had to knock off any points, it was the fact that we're fighting Balsamont again. Did he fight them at the end of the last two novels? And now in the third novel, it's the same kind of thing where everything wraps up and Rand has one more battle. So he fights Balsamont, and then the twist was that did he really kill Balsamont? Was it a human body, and would the Dark One have a human figure? I thought that was a nice twist to it, that so maybe we were deceived this whole time, that after that really cool fight where he got the sword, Kalendor, that was so cool with the sword. I think it must be iconic. If I remember it so much, I'm sure this is an iconic fight for everyone, where he's fighting Balsamont with the first sword, and then he finally grabs Kalendor, the prophesized sword, and swings it and kills whatever it was that he was fighting. So I like that little plant that we obviously didn't finish the series now, but Rand, again, being a teacher, like I mentioned before, he thinks he just had the final battle and he's done with that. So I'm interested to see where this goes, that when he realizes that, hey, wait a minute, you didn't actually kill the Dark One, that there is, as we know, another 10 novels to go through. So there's definitely more to the story, that the final battle wasn't over by any means. We still have all the Forsaken to deal with, and then more of the world. So speaking of the world and some other outside the main plot points was the Aiel. The Aiel was finally glad to learn more about them. We've had plenty of hints throughout that every time they mention Rand, he looks like an Aiel, that he must be Aiels. I mean, the very kind of over-the-nose foreshadowing that Rand is going to turn out to be Aiel. And being a big Dune fan, is on the books in my bookcase and the novels, huge Dune fan, I got very much Fremen vibes from the Aiel, that they're this desert warrior tribe of skilled fighters, that they're Fremen, basically. They're Wheel of Time's Fremen. That's what I kind of took away from that. Not that it's a bad thing. It makes them seem like these awesome fighters that, they do the fighting dance when we do see them string to action. And that the fact that they're coalescing around Rand, it really makes, is Rand Paul, but Rand is actually a Fremen Aiel. So I love the parallels here. It was definitely maybe influenced, I think, around this time. This is obviously written after Dune. So who hadn't read Dune if you're in the literary scenes? I'm sure, Robert Jordan got a little bit of inspiration from Dune, but it was very cool to see. I love the Fremen. I love Dune. So seeing the Aiel in this novel, and again, getting more hints that Rand is probably Aiel, that he comes from this Aiel tribe of skilled fighters. Love that part. So the world building was great in this novel as well. We traveled some locations, a lot of taverns as usual for Robert Jordan, that we went to a lot of taverns. A lot of things happened in taverns, but the town's tier was cool at the end. I really enjoyed learning about the Aiel, seeing the Aiel in action. And just the character story so far has been great. More to the world. We saw the one power being channeled a few times. This is not action-packed, 2024 level fantasy novel that's written like a movie. Still a little bit slower paced as a product of its time, but that's a good thing. It was a very good journey. I enjoyed my time, and even though it was about a 25-hour audiobook, I sped through it as fast as I could because I just couldn't wait to see what happened next. That was just all the emotions right now. I'm really charged up, having just finished the novel, and it was such a good ending. It leaves on a high note with plenty more to explore, and the final battles with all the characters, they finally kind of came back together for that fight. They all had their own battle in their own way, and we learned so much more about the characters. Matt starting to get cool, Perrin dealing with his wolf powers, and now he's wolf walking the dream world. That's really cool. So I can't wait to see more of Matt. I know he's going to develop more because he's Taverin. Even Loyal had some cool scenes. Loyal the Ogier, that we learned again that he's such a rebel Ogier, and we learned more about Ogier culture. So maybe to mention that, I want to see more about the Ogiers and the Aiel. Love the Aiel. The Aiel are cool, and that's just one of the nations that we learn about in the Wheel of Time. I know Robert Jordan is famous for that world building, and we're only on book 3, so there's plenty more worlds to explore. Can't wait to see that, and I can't wait to see what Rand does. Rand is coming into his own with the power. He is the Dragon Reborn. The banner was on top of the tower at the end of the novel. He defeated what he thought was the Dark One, but the Dark One's still out there, still chained. There's just so much more to do. So that was my thoughts and immediate reaction after finishing book 3 of the Wheel of Time, The Dragon Reborn. Easy 5 out of 5 for The Dragon Reborn. Can't wait to read the next book, book 4, Wheel of Time, and keep on this journey. So thank you for watching, and thank you for listening to me just exude all the cool feelings that I'm feeling right now having finished book 3. So have a great week and enjoy your time with the Wheel of Time. See ya.